Hey everyone, Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business. Today we're going to be talking about how to start and host your podcast for free. The reason that I think this is so important is because when I was first getting into hosting my podcast, it was very challenging to find a free solution. And a lot of the paid solutions had a lot of restrictions as well. So with this tutorial and kind of showing you what I've done, I'm going to go through and show you how to set up a podcast completely for free and get it listed on all major podcasts like Apple Music, or rather Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that you would find a podcast, because a lot of the smaller podcasts also take their podcasts from Spotify and Apple. And if there's any platform that you do have to upload manually, or better yet, you can upload an RSS feed, which we will talk about soon, you can just use the ones that we are going to go through and get today. So either way, at the end of the day, you'll only really have to upload to one, maybe two platforms, depending on what you want to do. And everything else will populate and update your new content as you go. So this isn't going to be very tedious or extraneous work. It's pretty easy after you get the first little bit settled. And so let's take a look at it. And I also just want to say, when I did look at paid solutions originally, like if we look at SoundCloud, for example, their paid solutions are not very good at all. So when I was originally pricing everything out and going through, let me just bring up the subscriptions. When I was originally pricing everything out, I realized it was not very good. Like, the pricing is awful. You can see that I've been paying for Pro Unlimited, and it's pretty expensive. It's $180 for the unlimited plan, for a yearly plan, because it's slightly cheaper than the monthly. So I figured, why not go for the yearly plan? But the free plan only lets you do, I think, 5 hours worth of content. And it's just not very useful. I mean, they also don't, as you can see here, it's not easy to change your plan. They make this very challenging. And I've actually emailed with them and tried to switch my plan. And originally I was paying $145, and I wanted to downgrade my plan. So I tried downgrading. It doesn't let me for some reason, but it did cancel my plan. So I had to go back to the same plan, which ended up costing me $40 more per month. I contacted them about this and I said, why can't I access the Pro plan? They said, well, once you upgrade to the unlimited plan, you can't even see the option for the Pro plan. Basically, they want you to spend more money and they're not even allowing you to spend less. And I said, okay, well, if that's the case, then can I go back to my original plan? And they said, absolutely. And then they never did anything about it. And it's been almost 6 months, and I send them an email every month and they just ignore it. So SoundCloud's customer service is just so awful, and it's sad because I've been with them for 6 or 7 years, and it's not even a good option in terms of what you get, and not even many people are using SoundCloud for podcasts. So you're pretty much losing across every possible factor that you could take into account here. So the reason why that I wanted to get a free podcast, obviously, is so that I didn't have to invest all this money into things like SoundCloud and other places. Like, the majority of options out there are fairly expensive, and the free versions of those paid subscription tiered, services, the free versions are very limited. So the SoundCloud's free version only offers you about 5 hours worth of content, which for me, doing almost hour-long episodes, doesn't really get me very far. And there's other platforms that are very cheap, but they kind of hold you hostage. So for example, another podcaster I know uses a service that charges you a very small fee. But if you ever stop paying the fee, they will then take down all your content. So you're held hostage by them essentially. And the longer you stay with them, the harder it is to get out and then reset up your content somewhere else. They basically make it impossible and you're kind of just stuck with them. So you don't want to go with someone who's holding you hostage or charging you crazy fees. You want to go with a platform that is trying to help you host your podcast, because a lot of people who get started can't afford to be investing all this money, especially because it's probably going to take a long time for your podcast to actually take off. So today we're going to look at Castbox and, more importantly, Anchor FM. Castbox is a great option for just having a free podcast, and then you can take the RSS feed and post that to any platform that will accept it. But Anchor is even better in the sense that your Anchor episodes or podcasts automatically get uploaded to Spotify. And Spotify is probably one of, if not the biggest podcasting platforms. So this is easy. And if you can only be bothered to use one thing, Anchor is your best bet because it'll get you on the biggest, most widely used platform. Castbox is just another way for you to do the same thing essentially, but this doesn't upload automatically to Spotify. I haven't actually really gotten into what the manual process for that looks like and if you have to pay and stuff. So it's much easier to just use Anchor for that. But I upload to a lot of alternatives in case there's ever an issue. Like say Spotify says, look, we don't want his content on here and I get censored. Anchor is in partnership with Spotify and that would probably all get taken down. So I use this for Spotify, and then I use Castbox, which is more open source, more, freely usable, and probably less restricted by, things like Spotify. And with Castbox, you can still take your RSS feed and upload that to a ton of different platforms, which is what I did. I'm using my RSS feed from here rather than from Anchor, so that if there's ever an issue with Spotify, I won't be affected. So that's a good way to sort of have a backup. And this is what it looks like. It's pretty simple. And for people who aren't aware of what an RSS feed is, essentially it's just this URL that is created from your podcast, and this allows other places to pick up your podcast and upload it as well. So if you go to any other podcast website that doesn't have your podcast, they will ask you for an RSS feed. You will paste this, and then it'll use the email that you've linked to this, send a verification, you verify, and then you're good to go. That's how I got my podcast listed on Apple Music, and that's how I got my podcast listed on iHeartRadio. So just to quickly prove to you guys, in case you want to actually see, I'll open these up. So this is on Spotify. This is on Apple Podcasts. This is iHeartRadio. And then back to Castbox where we were originally. So I'm going to upload this with this long, blog that gives you all the instructions and explains everything. But essentially, you'll go to these different URLs here and you'll submit your RSS feed, and then that's how you'll get your podcast connected. And it's really, really simple. You just come on, give them some of your basic information, and then give them your RSS URL. The key thing here is if you're using an RSS URL, you have to have an email attached to it, otherwise it won't work. So for example, when I was originally trying to connect my Anchor podcast here, and you can get your RSS by going to distribution, and then you see it right here. The websites weren't accepting this because I hadn't enabled this function right here, because you have to display your personal email address publicly so that they can email you for verification. So, that's also partially why I used this originally, because this automatically did that. Whereas with Anchor, you have to enable that. So, it's not challenging. It's just something to make note of in case you are having issues using your Anchor RSS feed. But essentially, you'll just do this for any website that accepts this stuff. So you can go on Breaker.audio, Overcast FM, PCA.st, Radio Public. I submitted all of my RSS feed to all of these, and they either were already listed because they took them from Apple or Spotify, or they accepted it basically immediately. So that's really great to see. And yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier than it looks. And when you're actually uploading content, it's very, very simple. On both platforms, you just click new episode, you drop your episode here, and then it'll just pop up and it'll show you a title and a description. And that's basically it. You'll just update that, add the title and the description, and then you're basically good to go. You hit publish. It takes a few hours to verify, but you should see your episodes up within probably 24 hours or less. I've never had an episode take longer than 24 hours to post, so you can rely on that as a standard. And while I don't have a lot of plays because I did start this very recently, it is really, really easy and useful. And while I've been mainly promoting, I haven't even promoted this at all. I only promote my videos. This is just a backup, and people can take advantage of this, as they need to. And I only started halfway through March. So, again, this is very, very new. But as things pick up, I'll probably try to promote it a little bit more. And I think this is a very, very great way for people to create content if they're not comfortable with getting on video or they're not comfortable with writing. If you're comfortable with audio and you're okay to just talk, I think this is an amazing way to take advantage of this. And it kind of gets around all the excuses people might have around cost and how much effort it is, because I would say audio is probably the easiest way that you can put out content, because you're just talking, right? You don't have to worry too much about spelling mistakes and spending all this time writing. I definitely spend more time writing, I would say, than I do recording or doing any of this stuff, because when I get into the recording side of things, it's very just free flow. I don't have any script or anything, whereas writing is trying to be very succinct and it just takes a lot more effort, I would say. So take advantage of this, you guys. Get started, test out trying to post your audio and get a podcast going and see what people think about it, because there's a lot of people who aren't doing a whole lot right now and they have a ton of time. And if you were interested in getting a podcast going, this is a perfect way for you to do that. So if you found this useful, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to see other similar style tutorials, let me know, and I'd be happy to do something like this. I think this is going to be very, very useful for a lot of people, because again, when I was trying to find a solution originally, it was very challenging, and even other podcasters that I knew didn't know about this free solution. So that's why I think this is really important for people to take advantage of and to learn about. So again, let me know in the comments below what you think about this platform, and if there's any other free platforms that you might be using for other people to take advantage of as well. And feel free to comment your podcast down below. I will go and check it out, and feel free to check out mine as well. Thanks. Thanks for sticking around. Since you did, please give this video a like. And if you'd like to see more, make sure to subscribe. You can also support me by donating to the addresses below. If you're using an Ethereum wallet, you can send to scottcbusiness.eth. If you're using another wallet like Coinami, Trust Wallet, Atomic Wallet, you can send to scottcbusiness.crypto. On both wallets, I accept Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Ripple. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, signing off. Cheers.